I think the Democratic Party has also done something where they've been intoxicated by the wonderful high of being able to just say Trump over and over and over, and Trump is Hitler over and over, and that's excused them to basically believe they can do whatever it is that they want, say what it is they want. The weird thing about this election cycle is that positionally, Trump is the most moderate candidate in Republican history. Right? He took abortion basically out of the platform. Right? I mean, like at the RNC, he basically sidelined abortion, which is a huge issue, obviously, for the pro-life community. That's a big part of the Republican Party.
He appointed the judges who got rid of it.
That's true. I mean, he will. They got rid of Roe, but the point is that his position has been that he will veto, for example, a national abortion ban. No other Republican could have gotten away with that.
Correct.
Right? When it comes to things like when it comes to same-sex marriage, that's completely out of the platform because of Trump, right?
That's the great part of being a cult leader, is that no, seriously, is that when it's about personality, and this is true, and it's funny you bring up Hitler. It's like he's the one talking about Hitler now. I think it's hysterical that for years now, you guys don't seem to care at all that the only human who he has ever not shit on is Putin. Like everybody else gets it.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video. Ben Shapiro went on Bill Maher's podcast and absolutely embarrassed him and all of his woke talking points, as often happens with Bill Maher on his podcast when he invites guests such as Ben Shapiro. Let's get into this clip here. And there's many clips throughout this podcast where Ben Shapiro embarrasses Bill Maher, but I think this one is probably the best one, where Ben Shapiro starts talking about the crime in Los Angeles and California versus places like Florida. And of course, Bill Maher disagrees. I don't know how. It blows my mind. Let's get into this clip here where Bill Maher and Ben Shapiro go at it a bit about crime.
No,
not really.
Right, and that's hugely different.
Yeah,
than the other two big ones.
For sure. No, hell is Los Angeles. I almost got robbed last night, by the way.
What?
Oh yeah, we were here for family and to be on this, and went out with some friends last night on 3rd Street for dinner, and it's not a bad area.
No,
like 10:30 at night, we get out of the restaurant. I have security, obviously, so we start heading one way. My friends head the other, as a husband and wife. They go like 3 cars down. They get in their car. As soon as they get in their car, a white Hyundai pulls up, and 3 black gentlemen, I mentioned the race because they are still at large, jump out of the car. They immediately grab my friend, pull him out of his car, steal his wallet, steal his watch, pull his keys out of his pocket, his phone. They run around to his wife. They grab her, start trying to rip the jewelry off of her. She screams, and at this point, their time has elapsed. They jump back in the car, and they take off. And I remembered why I moved to Florida. So,
well, it's not like that couldn't happen in Florida.
Well, I mean, we'd shoot you.
If
You see how, dude, stop the cope. Just stop coping, dude. Los Angeles and California, I mean, not every part of California is that bad, but the major cities, Los Angeles and San Francisco in California, they're horrible. And a lot of major cities across the United States are horrible. It just so happens that, those are very populated areas, and they're very populated with a lot of bad people. And then you add on top of that the legislation that goes on in that state and in those cities. It just incentivizes things like that to happen. Like Ben Shapiro just said, they're still at large, and they're probably never going to be found. Nothing's probably ever going to happen to those people. Whereas, like Ben Shapiro said, in Florida, they would have been shot on the spot because they're not reliant on law enforcement to come and save them in Florida. And, I'm not saying that this is a cop problem. I think it's more a legislation problem where they don't care as much about crime over there. It's wild to me. But if you ask anyone, if you ask someone like even Kamala Harris, who's not obviously local to California and how she controls things, but if you ask her about the crime problem across the country right now, and in a lot of major cities, they just say, oh, there's no crime problem. Nothing's happening. You ask people who are lawmakers, Gavin Newsom in California, what are you going to do about the crime problem? What crime problem? There's no crime problem. They genuinely act like it's not happening. And then people like Bill Maher, of course, are coping by when Ben Shapiro says that, that's why he lives in Florida. Well, that could happen in Florida too. Of course it could, dude. But just look at the numbers. The probability of it happening in Florida is a whole lot less than the probability of it happening in Los Angeles. Because guess what happens whenever there's strict gun laws? The people who were going to break the law anyway are going to still have guns. And the people who were not going to break the law anyway are not going to have guns to defend themselves from the already criminals. It's just common sense, and these people just can't grasp simple concepts. But in Florida, where everyone has a gun, number one, if this were to happen, like Ben Shapiro said, the guy would have been just shot. Number two, it's going to happen a whole lot less because the criminals are aware that even the non-criminals have guns to defend themselves. It's common sense, but people like Bill Maher still can't grasp it.
Why, are you strapped?
In Florida, sure.
You are.
So's my wife. Everybody's strapped in Florida. Come on, man. I've been there.
Okay, well, what I take from this is don't eat on 3rd Street anymore. There's some fine restaurants on 3rd Street. I mean, Berries. I love Berries. It's late night. It's a very strange restaurant because it's nice. Nobody's ever in it. If you want to, like, be sure to get a table at 9 o'clock. I'm just walking off the street. I recommend it highly. I think they must be laundering money or something. Jones is a old, isn't the Little Door on 3rd? These are all like places I will never go again.
Yeah, no, listen, I grew up here, man. I mean, I spent my entire childhood here. I was here for, of the 36 years before we moved to Florida, I was here for 33 of them here. And then there came a point where we were out.
Well, I mean, you're not unique. Certainly. There's lots of people who have moved. The places people move are Florida, Nashville, and Austin.
Yep.
Right. Those are the 3 sort of like haven.
Which I've heard, and let me know in the comments, I've heard from people who live in Tennessee that are friends of mine that Nashville is actually going pretty downhill crime-wise. Let me know in the comments if anybody here is from Tennessee, from Nashville. But that's what I heard, that Nashville's even going downhill crime-wise. I don't know why that would be. Maybe because, I mean, if all of these people are fleeing from these crime-ridden cities to Nashville and to Austin, naturally they would go up in crime, right? But I heard that Nashville's like going extremely downhill. Could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see.
For people who have had wokeness up to here. And when I say wokeness, you know, I mean, it's a triggering word because some people think of it in the original meaning, which is, as I always say, noble, alert to injustice. Certainly with our despicable racial history, that was necessary to be super alert and vigilant. Then it migrated because words do. That's just the nature of language. You can't control it. Words just become something else. And it became a sort of catch-all for what I have called the aggressively anti-common sense agenda. I mean, that's where we share a belief. Then there's lots of stuff where we don't. And,
sure.
You know, we don't even have to talk about Trump. But, you know, it is like 10 days before an election, and we're about to elect like
That's a moral obligation,
the worst person ever. Who's a dictator, and
Whatever,
we'll change America for the worse forever. But you know what? Between friends, little things like that can go. But we agree on the aggressively anti-common sense agenda. And, you know, common sense certainly is, you know, job one, make the citizens feel safe.
Well, that's the thing, right? I turned to my friend after he got robbed, and we were calling the cops and waiting 15 minutes for the cops to arrive. And I said to him, well, you know, at least you've done your part to alleviate systemic racism in the United States. And that's, you know, that's sort of the mentality. And he's been thinking.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
about moving out of here for a while. And again, he and his family live here. It's bad governance is a thing that ought not be countenanced, regardless of your politics. I mean, people would like to live in a place where you can walk down the street at 10:30 at night and not be robbed by roving gangs. And that doesn't seem particularly controversial. But the fact that it is, I think, you know, again, we don't have to get into the Trump of it, but I think one of the reasons why people are less concerned about things that people like Trump say is because, like, okay, the issues that matter to me are things like, is my grocery bill twice what it was 3 years ago? Am I getting robbed on the street? And so the disconnect between the legacy media, which is very concerned about things like systemic racism, and the normal person who's like, I would just like to not get robbed today, that drives an enormous amount of distrust in legacy media. So when they start warning about, you know, Donald Trump saying X, Y, or Z, it's like, okay, well, he's saying that, and you know what? You know, like what I really care about is who's going to fix my life and make it better. And I think that really is a big divide right now.
Yeah, the piece I'm doing at the end of the show Friday, and I guess this will air after that, so I don't have to worry that I'm cheating myself. But it's, you know, it ends with saying that the Democrats, when they ran against Trump, certainly in 2020 and this year, really their big argument is, let's get back to normal. Certainly that was Biden's. And what I'm saying to them, and I court,
I'll let him
voting
talk.
for her, and I want them to win, is, and you know, and I don't have to love everything, and I don't, but certainly it's not a hard choice for me. But if what you're selling is let's get back to normal, be normal. We know
Facts, man. That's why, like, Bill Maher, he shows signs of coming over to the light side, but he just won't do it because, like Ben Shapiro said, you would like to think that every single person in America and across the world can agree. They would like to live in a place where they don't get robbed going to dinner at 10 p.m. or 9 p.m., whatever time it was when Ben Shapiro, that whole thing happened. You would like to live in that place, right? You would like to live in a place where groceries are not extremely high, gas prices are not extremely high, etc. And everybody would agree with that in a vacuum. But as soon as you say that a place run by a Democrat has high crime problems, or that you got robbed in a place that's run by a Democrat, they lose their minds. And like Bill Maher said, that can happen in Florida too. Of course it can, but it doesn't. It doesn't happen nearly as often. Why do you think that is? I can't even think of another reason that someone like him could justify it not happening in Florida as much as it happens in California. It doesn't make any sense. So in a vacuum, like Ben Shapiro said, everybody can agree they would like to live in places kind of how, conservatives run places. That's where they'd want to live. But as soon as you start to criticize these universal ideas not being provided to people in Democrat-run cities, they start losing their mind. They start coping. Like Bill Maher said, it can happen in Florida too, right?
Trump isn't normal, but if you lose this election, it's because a sizable number, perhaps a majority, think you're not normal in fundamental ways either. And, I know the far left hates me for always noticing this, but I'm going to continue to notice it because it's true. It's not traditional old school liberalism. It's something very different. And you can't have that word. You are woke or whatever the word is, but it's different. And you can't merge them when they're very often opposite.
I think the Democratic Party has also done something where they've been intoxicated by the wonderful high of being able to just say Trump over and over and over, and Trump is Hitler over and over, and that's excused them to basically believe they can do whatever it is that they want, say what it is they want. The weird thing about this election cycle is that positionally, Trump is the most moderate candidate in Republican history. Right? He took abortion basically out of the platform. Right? I mean, at the RNC, he basically sidelined abortion, which is a huge issue, obviously, for the pro-life community. That's a big part of the Republican Party.
He appointed the judges who got rid of it.
That's true. I mean, he will. They got rid of Roe, but the point is that his position has been that he will veto, for example, a national abortion ban. No other Republican could have gotten away with that.
Correct.
Right? When it comes to things like when it comes to same-sex marriage, that's completely out of the platform because of Trump, right?
That's the great part of being a cult leader is that seriously, is that when it's about personality, and this is true, and it's funny you bring up Hitler. It's like he's the one talking about Hitler now. I think it's hysterical that for years now, you guys don't seem to care at all that the only human who he has ever not shit on is Putin. Like everybody else gets it. Friends, enemies, people back in the fold, everybody gets shit on and a couple of other dictators he likes. But now he's sort of thrown that mask away and just I like all these people who are Hitlerian. Let's just say I like Hitler too.
Well, I mean,
it's kind of funny.
Well, here's the thing about the whole Hitler thing. So, as somebody who has a bit of a dog in the Hitler fight, right?
I was going to say,
like the funny hat, says something about it.
Yeah. This is where I lose interest. I just can't take the victim shit over and over again with Ben Shapiro. That's why I don't make videos on him often, because he's just constantly talking about this thing. But anyway, I mean, what Ben Shapiro said about Trump is completely correct, that he is one of the most moderate Republican candidates ever. And it's very ironic how Donald Trump has said over and over again, I don't have anything to do with Project 2025. I disavow Project 2025. I never read it. I don't care about it. And Kamala Harris is running on and winning votes on the fact that Donald Trump's evil Project 2025 is going to take over America and overthrow democracy. Donald Trump has also said, to the dismay of many of his supporters, that he will veto a national abortion ban. All Donald Trump wanted to do is leave it up to the states. It's now left up to the states, and he says over and over again, I will not push any further on the abortion topic. I will veto a national abortion ban. And guess what? Kamala Harris is running on the fact that Donald Trump wants to take away women's rights and their right to choose. It's like, in fact, Donald Trump is the only Republican candidate that doesn't want to do that, which I disagree with. I think take it away. Take away the right to abortion. I don't understand why that's ever been a thing. I tweeted out something the other day, and I said, we should as a country, and this is going to be a very controversial statement, I'm aware, we should as a country be much more ashamed of abortion ever being legal than we should be ashamed of slavery happening. 100%, I stand by that. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think about Ben Shapiro's appearance here on Bill Maher's podcast. There were some other clips that I wanted to go over, but this is probably the most important clip that I wanted to talk about. Let me know in the comments what do you guys think about Ben Shapiro, his comments on California, on Los Angeles. Also, what do you think about Bill Maher's responses to Ben Shapiro's statement? Their names are too similar. I'm getting tongue-tied. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about this whole Ben Shapiro on Bill Maher's podcast situation.